You ever had a morning where you thought the craziest thing you'd see was a bass smashing a shad, and then suddenly the whole universe decides to drop a circus right on your head? That's how it was for me. One minute, I'm out on my own dock just trying to cast a line in peace, feeling the mist curl around my ankles. Next thing I know, 3 patrol cars are bouncing down the gravel light bars, pulsing like I just robbed a bank. And up on the dock, my dock, mind you, stands Denise Hardcourt, the queen bee herself, phone jammed to her ear, shrieking about a dangerous trespasser who, according to her, is threatening the sanctity of the homeowners association. You want to talk about a wake-up call? Try having your neighbor call 911 on you for fishing on your own land. I remember the look on those cops' faces as they climbed out all business like they were ready for a standoff. Then snap, they spotted me, sunglasses, ratty old ball cap, probably looked more like a retired janitor than the guy whose name's on half the county deeds. There's this hush. Radios die mid-chirp. And then the tall one, Miles Vance, goes pale and whispers, "Holy hell, sir, it really is you." Let me back up a sec. Most folks wouldn't recognize me even if I showed up at their front door with a welcome basket. 50 years old, quietly built a tech empire that's worth more than most folks' wildest lottery fantasies, billionaire by the numbers, but not the kind you see on magazine covers. I own the biggest spread in Pine Hollow Shores, but I stay invisible for a reason. I'll take dawn by the lake, a thermos of coffee, and zero small talk over any 5-star gala. Trust me, you haven't lived until you've seen a sunrise so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat, not a single HOA drone in sight. But you'd never convince Denise of that. Denise, now there's a character study for you. 55, hair that's never seen its real color since Reagan was president, always in high-dollar athleisure, clipboard welded to her hand, hunting down violations like she's on some sort of suburban safari. You know the type. Head of the HOA 3 years running, convinced she's one city ordinance away from running the whole state. It started about 6 months back. I'm out fishing the shore one morning. She stomps up heels, sinking in the mud. Wants to see my resident ID like she's running Border Patrol. Says fishing is for dues-paying members only. I told her politely as I could muster I live here. She gives me that squint, you know the one, and says she's never seen me at a meeting or a barbecue. That's all she needs. Next thing, I'm getting official warnings taped to my mailbox, loitering without authorization, violating quiet hours by fishing before 7 a.m., because apparently the splash of a lure is a federal offense now. Then came resident complaints about a suspicious man lurking by the lake, which is funny because, well, I own every house in sight of that rock. If I'm lurking, it's on my own land. But Denise, she gets more determined, shows up every morning with binoculars, a spiral notebook phone out, recording everything. She'd tell anyone who'd listen. I was a squatter, probably broke into a vacant mansion and hacked the gate code, just waiting to loot the neighborhood. What she never did, despite all her big talk about control, was check the county plat map. Not only do I own my house, I own the entire western shore plus the slab of land the community dock sits on. Hell, I own the lake itself. My granddad bought the basin and all the acreage around it 60 years ago, long before anybody had ever heard of Pine Hollow Shores. This whole place grew up around me, not the other way around. And that morning, Denise is up on the hill, binoculars glued to her face, narrating a 911 call like it's breaking news, armed with fishing gear. Erratic behavior, refusing to leave. I can actually hear her saying, "Yes, I do feel threatened. Send someone now." All because I had the nerve to fish in my own backyard. So when the cavalry rolled in, 3 patrol cars, lights blazing, no sirens but enough drama for a Netflix pilot, Denise is already pacing the dock, rehearsing her citizen's testimony. Tells the dispatcher I'm potentially armed, behaving aggressively. Meanwhile, I've been parked on that boulder quiet as a heron for an hour. Cops fan out, hands near their holsters. Denise is pointing, shouting. Trespassing, vagrancy, ignoring repeated warnings. The lead officer, Patterson guy, looks like he's seen his fair share, slows down. As he gets close, recognizes me, raises a hand, and everything just Stops. "Mr. Vance, sir, it is you. I didn't realize. We're terribly sorry for the trouble." That's the thing about being the guy behind the scenes. Nobody remembers your face except the people whose lives you've changed. Patterson, he didn't know me from the HOA newsletter. He knew me from the brass plaque in the police HQ lobby, the one I paid for $10 million for the new building, rescue boats, dive gear, sonar units, you name it. Every cop in the county knows the name, even if they've never shaken my hand. Denise's victory grin just melts right off her face. All 6 officers swing their attention to her. Patterson's voice gets cold. "Ma'am, do you know who you just called 911 on?" She stammers vagrant suspicious activity. She's practically hyperventilating. Patterson looks at me. I just nod. "This is Miles Vance. He owns the largest parcel in Pine Hollow Shores. He's the single biggest donor our department's ever had. And by the way, he owns the ground you're standing on." That's when I reach into my dry bag and pull out the old paperwork I've been carrying ever since Denise decided to declare war. Original 1965 deed survey, plat the lake title with my granddad's signature. I hand it to Patterson. The other officers crowd in to look. It's all there, black and white. I don't just own my house. I own the land, the dock, the water, every pebble on the shore. Patterson gives the papers back, turns to Denise. She's ghost white, only color left is 2 spots of humiliation on her cheeks. "Ma'am, you just made a false 911 report. You've also been harassing Mr. Vance on his own property. That dock, technically that's an illegal structure. That makes you the trespasser here." Denise starts flapping her mouth like a bass out of water, tries to mumble something about bylaws, but Patterson's not having it. "Mr. Vance could have you arrested right now for filing a false report, harassment, and trespassing, real charges, real fines, real jail time." You could see her whole world collapse right there. That clipboard, the designer leggings, her little HOA crown, all of it poof, gone. Patterson asks if I want to press charges. I think about all those letters taped to my mailbox, her binoculars, the code enforcement goons she kept sending my way. But you know what? Sometimes the better revenge isn't a night in county lockup. It's a lesson that sticks. So I tell Patterson, "Let's do this." I'll drop it all if Denise agrees to 3 things: a formal apology, read out loud at the next HOA meeting, her immediate resignation as president, and the association removes their illegal dock within 30 days at their expense. She starts to argue. Patterson reminds her a false 911 call alone could be a year in jail and $5,000 in fines. Throw in harassment and trespassing, and now she's looking at more jail time, more cash. Tears run down her face, streaking her mascara, but she signs the agreement right there. Ironic, using a clipboard standing on a dock she's about to lose. An officer follows her home, makes sure she doesn't double back. Patterson hangs around, apologizes half a dozen times, but honestly, I'm just relieved it's over. But word spreads in this neighborhood like wildfire on a windy day. By dinner, every mailbox has the story. That night, emergency board meetings packed wall to wall. Denise, shaking, stands at the podium and reads the apology I wrote for her, admits to harassment, filing a false police report, abusing her office. She resigns, walks out into dead silence. The board, desperate to save face, votes unanimously to dismantle the dock and issues their own groveling apology to me. And while they're at it, turns out Denise had been writing unauthorized fines and pocketing the money. A forensic audit uncovered $42,000 missing. 2 weeks later, the DA slaps cuffs on her in the middle of an open house right in front of a stunned couple she's trying to sell a 4-bedroom colonial to. Local news eats it up. HOA president arrested for embezzlement after botched trespass call. The trial is a formality. Evidence is airtight. 3 counts embezzlement, 2 of fraud, and a false report the court seems to hate most. 18 months jail, $75,000 in restitution and fines. I'll never forget that look when the bailiff clicked on the cuffs. Denise glances at me across the courtroom. There's this shock in her eyes, like she finally realizes this wasn't about fishing or bylaws, but about how power can turn rotten if nobody stands up to it. All this because a quiet man wanted to fish on his own lake. You ever notice how folks with the least real power are the ones who fight the hardest to keep what little they've got, even if it means inventing a villain out of thin air? If there's anything I've learned, it's that sometimes the loudest people are just trying to drown out the truth. The law might move slow, but karma's got a way of showing up right on time with handcuffs and a camera crew. So what do you think, was justice served, or did karma just find its mark? Have you ever tangled with a power-hungry neighbor or seen someone weaponize the rules for their own gain? Drop your story or your take in the comments below. Let's hear about your own brush with neighborhood justice.